No jinx on a Monday for the holiday. Ho, ho, ho. The Nuggets keep getting away with it. What? You were worried? Why were you worried? Why was anyone worried versus the Pelicans? We'll talk about that. MPJ doesn't close. That continues to be an interesting dynamic, especially with trade rumors swirling. Plus, we'll preview the Nuggets game versus the Suns, the first of two this week, as we enter Christmas week here on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us each and every day, Monday through Friday, being an everydayer, hanging out with us. We appreciate you guys' support. Means the world to us. Make sure to go to lockedondaily.com for our daily Locked On Nuggets newsletter. You get in-depth analysis from me and Ryan. I'll be doing the 10-piece tonight, which is 10 things to know from the Nuggets weirdo win over the New Orleans Pelicans, as well as check it out throughout the week. We'll have that up for you every day. The Locked On Daily newsletter at Locked On Nuggets, lockedondaily.com. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here for some teams, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, because right now new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. My name's Matt Moore. I'm joined by Ryan Blackburn from Mile High Sports. Go check out his work at Mile High Sports and the Pickaxe and Roll podcast. If you like this podcast, you're going to like that one. Go to youtube.com, by the way, and go to youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets. Hit the like and subscribe. We are we're screaming towards 10. It's going to be great. We're going to hit 10,000.
It's been awesome.
Like we could do this by All-Star if you guys really put your minds to it. So go to join the revolution. Go to youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets. The Nuggets.
Thank you to everybody. It's been awesome, like kind of joining up and being a part of this. And you guys have absolutely helped me feel at home with it. So thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't let him feel at home. That's not good.
The solo show was scary, man, but everybody loved it. It was great.
You're so worried about a solo show. It's fine. It's all right. It's just clicking some buttons. The Nuggets get the win tonight over the New Orleans Pelicans. They win 132-129. Who should have won this game? I'll start there. Let's start there. Who should have won?
The question is that the Pelicans.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you. Who should have won this game?
The team that played hard, the team that tried for like the vast majority of the damn game, like absolutely the Pelicans. Like they should be livid. And I got to be honest, Matt. Once Trey Murphy went out of this game, I was like, man, that team is cursed. The Nuggets are winning. Everything sucks for them. Do they even have their first round pick next year? I have no idea. Like it is just. It's got to be a painful experience right now to be a Pelicans fan. And I just know that they are as frustrated as Nuggets fans are. And yet the Nuggets are 16-11. 15-11.
Jokic had 0 points in the first quarter, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. The chat asserts that it's because he's sending a message. Jokic sent a message tonight, and this is the only way. Jokic was getting everyone open shots, but no one could hit a shot tonight. It was sad, but it had to be done. The front office needs to see this. Sir, I have been talking to Nikola Jokic in small, tiny spurts for 10 years now. I guarantee you that Nikola Jokic was not sending a message by not shooting and missing 3 shots in the first quarter. That is not a thing that Nikola Jokic was doing. He just had a bad game. That is all that happened in the first half. He had a bad first half. He had 6 points in the first half.
Yeah.
And he finishes with 27 points, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists, Ryan.
I do think like there is some protestation here coming from him, not like so? At the Nuggets front office or anything. Like I at least not that I think. Like it does feel like he's just frustrated and depressed. Like that's what I see with him. I see somebody who hates life right now. I see somebody who does not enjoy his time on the basketball court. And the protestation is really, oh, I guess I have to score now. Fine. Okay. I guess I'll go back to doing that again. No, I don't. I just see somebody who's not really enjoying himself. And I see somebody who He was like, there were plenty of switches that he got out there against DeJounte Murray, Jordan Hawkins, CJ McCollum, guards in the middle of the floor, and he passed out of that every single time. And to me, that doesn't look like a guy who really wants to be here.
Also, Blanco, the game sucked, ... Then they won.
That's a very great representation of what we just watched.
It's not the entire season. It's a lot of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I was thinking about this because I have this problem in other sports, and I'm really not trying to gloat. I'm really just trying to talk about, like, when my favorite team wins a game in which it's not impressive, and I'm like, oh, God, they didn't like. Can't they just have like a good win? Why is every week like this like torturous experience, and like they look horrible and then they just pull it out?
Yeah.
And I think back to what my life was like when they could not win a single game, when it was misery and the entire thing was dysfunctional and everyone sucked. And I'm like, shut up. Like, it's hard to win professional sports games. And they won a game, and I get it because people want the Nuggets to be better because of how great Jokic is. And so I get it. It's like, they got to win now. There's not this gigantic window that they were kind of. That was like one of the problems, I think, that like after the title is like, we got this big giant window, and it's like, no, you really gotta maximize every opportunity. And I get that part of it. On the same time, there's a lot of teams that would have killed for an overtime win versus the Pelicans. Like, they just would have, like, they would kill for getting this kind of a win on the road, even versus a bad team, just to be like, we're not suffering with, like, the Kings right now just want to win. That's all they want. It's just like to win a game. Yeah. And so I think it's worth kind of talking about in terms of understanding that as long as you could acknowledge, like, look, I get I'm being a little picky here, but I do want them to play better. That's fair.
It was the most depressing half of basketball, 3/4 of basketball, Matt, that they've played all season. And they've had some pretty depressing basketball. And when you win a game like that and you make up the difference with the amazing effort that they put together in the fourth quarter, Jamal Murray shows up. He does a great job. Nikola Jokic can't be guarded by Yves Missi one-on-one and does a lot of great stuff. For whatever reason, the Pelicans weren't doubling that much. Actually, I know the reasons, because he just hits the cutter every time. But, like, I know when this team looks good and plays good and actually cares. I can see it. Fans can see it. They understand what they're watching here. And I think when you know the capacity of a team and you've seen the capacity firsthand and you understand that there's so much pressure on this moment for them to be good, for them to be successful, and then you watch what they did after having just a horrible loss against Portland, I tend to think that fans are understandably frustrated. They're understandably annoyed at the fact that, okay, now they've lost to the Wizards, the Blazers, and the Pelicans, and they nearly lost to the Pelicans twice. And you would think that that would be enough of a motivating factor here, but it's just not for this team. I'm not really sure what motivates this team right now. I'm not sure what gets them going, what helps them play hard, where you get that motivation from. Do you? Because I don't really see it.
Yeah, Jokic in his post-game thing talked about how they don't play with hunger. Like, they got to be hungry. And all I can really say is, like, I think there's okay. I gotta be careful here because I'm not trying to assert that they're good enough to do this. I don't think they are. This is what happens when a team that isn't good enough to try and manage the season tries to manage the season.
And when they think they're good enough to manage it as well.
And this has always been like a frustration for you, is like, you really would like to see them be the Celtics and just kill every team every night. Like,
sure,
just absolutely play to potential every single night. And I am of the kind of mindset of, I'm just like, I feel like you burn your jets doing that. And Boston didn't last year, except for the fact that they kind of, like, they lost the Hawks twice in March. They let the Cavs come back from 30 down. Like, they screwed around the entire month of March, much the same way the Nuggets did in the title year.
That's understandable when you have a 3-month stretch from December to February, like the Nuggets did in the championship run, where they were unimpeachable. Like, there was nobody that could question what the Nuggets were doing during that stretch because of how good they were, how consistent they were, how their players were fitting together, and how they were clearly playing for each other in those 3 months. And you're not seeing that now. I don't think anybody can trick themselves into think that they're seeing that now. And the question is how much it matters now versus how much it matters over the course of the next 2 months or potentially up to the trade deadline.
Up next, let's talk about the decision to go away from MPJ late. We'll talk about some of those decisions, plus who actually played well in this game that sounds like the worst experience ever. We'll talk about that up next here on Locked On Nuggets. Today's show is brought to you by Skylight Frames. Do you want to celebrate with and stay connected to the people who are far away? If you're missing someone this holiday season and want them to be part of your festivities from afar, I do this with friends. I will send them frames with the ability for me to be able to send photos to them. It's really great. Your loved ones, if they live far away, but if you wish that they were closer to you, we've got the perfect gift for you. Skylight Frame is the touchscreen digital photo frame your whole family will love. Upload thousands of photos with your phone, and you can watch them appear in seconds. It's easy to use. Setup takes less than 60 seconds. It looks beautiful in your home. The photos are displayed in HD resolution. You can choose from 5 different frame styles. You can set it up in portrait or in landscape mode. It's a great private way to share photos without posting it to the world or having to print and store hard copies. Over 1 million happy customers, thousands of 5-star reviews, and available in over 30 countries. Recommended by the Today Show, Forbes, New York Mag, and more. And now, as a special limited time offer for our listeners, you get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframe.com/NBA. That's skylighthtframe.com/NBA. Get $20 off your purchase now at skylightframe.com/NBA. We're also brought to you today by Built Rewards. If you're a renter, listen up. This is a total game changer. Thanks to Built, you can now earn points on rent payments just like you do with groceries or travel. Paying rent now comes with serious perks, and it's completely free to join. Earn valuable Built points on your rent and everyday spending at no extra cost. You can redeem those points towards flights, hotel stays, and even future rent payments. With over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels in their program, the possibilities are endless. Access unique experiences that are exclusive to Built members. I love using points for travel, and Built makes it easy to turn those into rewards. If you're already paying rent, why not make it work for you? Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. That's joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. And make sure to use our link so they know we sent you. Don't wait. Start earning rewards today. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us. Ryan Blackburn and Matt Moore. We call the show No Jinx because, well, we consistently jinx the Nuggets over and over and over again.
We do it often. It's a very consistent part of our
reverse jinx. To be fair, it should actually be no reverse jinx. Because, for instance, the Pels went up, I think, by like 17. No, it wasn't that. It was third quarter, and I was like, all right, they're done. Fine, they've quit. Yeah. And so I turned on Home Alone with the kids.
Great.
and then all of a sudden I check my phone. I'm like, damn it. And so I, flip open the computer, watch the rest of the game, and then went back and I was gonna do this anyway because we do this for the show. I went back and rewatched the game before the show. And I will say, watching it live with the MPJ stuff, and Swipe is losing his mind.
He's wrong for this. I think he's wrong. Yeah.
Well, okay, let's talk about it. So MPJ doesn't play down the stretch. MPJ tonight, they really, they could have, look, Ryan, I don't know how you can really say that. They could have missed him. They really missed him. He was 2 of 8 from the field for 8 points and a -10. Got to have that late.
You need to have the threat of the spacing when the guy has an 8% usage rate in the clutch, Matt.
So I kid. I actually am I'm fine with either way you argue this. I really am just yeah, okay. You think that he should have played Mike, but he didn't, and they won. So that's just kind of how it is. I get it. Tell me why you think, though, that it wasn't the move to put Mike back in the game.
This was a very simple thing. Like, to me, this was actually the perfect game where you sit Mike. One, he was bad on both ends of the floor. He did not play well on the offensive end. He did not play well on the defensive end. Two, the personnel wasn't there. The Pelicans they played 3 guards. They played CJ McCollum, DeJounte Murray, and Jordan Hawkins. And he would have had to defend one of those guys in all likelihood. Maybe he goes and guards Herb Jones instead, but by having Aaron Gordon be able to guard Herb Jones, he could be a roamer. He could be a roamer in the middle of the paint. He could rebound. He could do those things that he usually does when he's not like fully being tasked to guard on the perimeter. And they had Jamal Murray, Russell Westbrook, and Christian Brown being able to switch those matchups, and they could all guard those guys reasonably well, especially when they try. And then 3, like, Russell Westbrook earned the right to do it. He played great. He was awesome. He was one of the reasons why Denver even had this game as a game in the first place. His actual ability to get up and down the floor, his defense, his cutting ability. He was slashing off of Murray passes to him and getting into the lane. He was setting the table. He wasn't perfect tonight. I'm never going to say that he was, but like it was great to watch. And then he made a clutch defensive play at the end of the game to force overtime. So I just don't agree with anybody that says that they need Michael Porter on the floor in these moments, especially because he passed up an open 3 and drew and like committed a charge in the middle of the lane because he would not shoot the wide open 3 that was generated for him, Matt.
That wide open 3 is the problem for me. And it's in part because of the problems with Christian and Aaron.
Yeah.
Again, the threat of spacing is more important than actual spacing. We have lots of evidence of this, that it's more important that they guard you like a shooter than it is whether or not you actually can shoot.
Yeah.
You don't want him taking that 3. And this is the problem that comes. I'm okay if you have Russ close, if you run Russ Jokic 2-man game with Jamal spacing. I actually think that that's a really good set. I wish I had the numbers on it of Russ and Jokic with Jamal spotting up. It's got to be a handful of possessions this season, but I feel like they've got to be averaging like 1.2 points per possession on it.
I'm confused though. Like, even if they have Jamal and Jokic running the 2-man game, those guys operate really well in tight space. They often set up Jokic on the weak side or on the post, and then they'll have Murray as the strong side shooter in that situation. Yes, they don't have a lot of spacing on the weak side, but you've got Yves Missi, and they were guarding him one-on-one with Yves Missi without sending help. Like, what is the big deal? I don't understand it. They scored 38 points in the fourth quarter for the second game in a row, and it did not matter. It is okay to not close with Michael Porter. He is not a guy that you close with every single night.
That's an interesting assessment. I agree with you. I think he's that type of player where you don't have to close with MPJ every night. And to your point, hey, like 2-man game always creates a crowd, which opens up for things like the Aaron Gordon dunk.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're so focused on the 2-man game. And Jamal did make a really good read, actually, not to pass it back to Jokic on the pick and pop and instead get to that mid-range jumper to tie. Like that was like a really good read by Jamal. By the way, because like I'm not going to let this slide by. We killed him for months.
Yeah.
And we don't take back a single, like I'm not taking it back. Like when you play badly, we talk about how you play badly. 27 points tonight, 9 of 19 shooting, but 27 points on 19 shots, 7 of 8 from the line, clutch free throws, 8 boards, 4 assists, 3 steals, and a block for Jamal Murray.
Man cared tonight.
Jamal's turned the corner. Jamal's playing great right now.
4 straight 20-point games. It's the first time since the playoffs that he's done that. I've been very impressed by not just the actual scoring, but just the mentality, the willingness to take more shots, the willingness to take on more responsibility for this moment. And that's what you need. Like you need a second guy who is willing to take that pressure off of Jokic. And I know what the storyline would have been had he taken that mid-range jumper and missed it. And then Joker kind of popped open, wide open to the top of the key. And he kind of looked at Murray, but Murray didn't pass it and he took the shot and it went in. And like, that's the thing about Murray though, is that he is clutch enough to do that. He's shown that over the course of his career that he's willing and capable and able to make those plays. And that's what makes a great team more versatile. It's when you have multiple ways to attack a defense. So hopefully this is Murray kind of rounding into form a little bit. I don't know if it's ultimately going to be that, Matt. Like we can sit here and like say, hey, this is awesome. He did just defeat, like, the Clippers was a good one, but it was without a bunch of their perimeter defenders. Then it was the Kings. Then it was the Blazers. Then it was the Pelicans. So it wasn't like this was a murderer's row of defenders against Jamal, but I still like to see him scoring rather than not scoring. So it's great to see.
I also think the MPJ thing was one, I don't think he was playing well. Two, the Pelicans, by sheer force, because of the number of injuries, were playing Eve Messi and 4 wings. And if they get out in transition, the Nuggets are toast if they don't have Russell Westbrook and Christian Brown on the floor. Like, they have to have those guys. If you were going offense, defense on every single possession, then I think Porter plays more. Like, he's in more of the offensive possessions. But they weren't, so they were just having to play defense, and I get that part of it.
They also just didn't have timeouts to be able to consistently be able to do that.
Burn him.
Like,
they
Malone burned them with, like, he had 1 left with 15 minutes to go in the game, and then Russ takes a timeout to try to, like, save a possession because he got trapped in the corner, and like that was a scary moment. I think if you were hoping for the Nuggets to win, I had effectively given up on it at that point because, like, look, they still need to learn their lessons, man. Like, they can't keep getting away with this. They have to start playing like they care. And I'm glad that Jamal was able to kind of round them into form a little bit. I'm glad that Russ continues to showcase that he's not the worst fit in the world. He does make a lot of sense with this team in particular to get them through the regular season. That is clearly something that we talked about and I think has borne out. But it does just feel like Denver's spinning the wheels a little bit right now.
Again, they won.
I know.
And I'm not saying, look, I'm not trying to act like everything's fine, right? I get it. I just think it's like, there's got to be some sort of balance here. And this is, I think the problem is, if they were worse, I would be calling with the same sense of urgency that you are and that the fans are based off of how it looks watching them. But I am of the also mindset of, like, I know that the players are going to be like, look, we're winning. Like, we're still above 500. We're still within definite range of a top 4 seed. The West isn't going anywhere, and it's December. Like, but I'll say this too: teams are always like, there's time.
Yeah,
they're always like, there's time, because the season seems so long. And this is a thing I harp on all the time, guys. The middle of the season is in January. You got to get to where you at least feel like you have a chance by January. And you're right, like, emotionally, they're not there in terms of the effort, and that's what fans see. It's like they don't play with joy. They don't, like, you made the comment that they're a miserable watch, and it's true. Like, they're just miserable to watch right now. And some people will say that that's roster, and some people will say that that's heart, and some people will say that that's like an ephemeral thing that's hard to kind of put an identity on. But if you play with heart and hustle every night, the fans will care. But the problem with that is, if you play with heart and hustle every night when you are a shorthanded roster, you will burn out, and then you won't have enough in Game 7.
I understand why they're saving some of the tank. Like, I totally get it, but you got to have the personnel to be able to save it and justify saving it. And so hopefully the bench continues to figure that out. Like, DJ played again tonight. They got Dario Saric back. He did not play. He was available tonight. So we'll see if that actually adds or changes anything. But I don't look at the Nuggets roster and think there's a magical save. Like, they're going to be shorthanded, and they're going to be gassed if they want to try.
On the other side, we'll wrap up. We'll talk about the Suns. Santa Cruz in the comments wants to talk about the next 5 games. I'm going to tell you what I think that they're going to do over the next 5 games. And we'll wrap up the show here on Locked On Nuggets. The NFL playoffs are almost here for some teams, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet win. Man, there's so many great futures you can get in on at FanDuel. One of my favorites, Offensive Rookie of the Year at FanDuel for the NFL. Jaden Daniels, unbelievable season. He was incredible today. That was an amazing performance by him.
Yeah.
That was honestly a better game than I think I've seen anybody else in the field play all year long. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a win. I love betting on which players will score a touchdown and how many points each team will score. It's thrilling. I got the under tomorrow. By the way, on Celtics versus Magic. Celtics defense is number 2 in the league on the road. They can't defend at home for some reason, but on the road, they're lights out, like the under in Celtics Magic tomorrow. Not only can you bet on who will win the game, FanDuel also has bets for which player will score a touchdown, how many points each team will score, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. You're back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us on a Monday. Hope you guys are enjoying. If you're taking time off, hope you guys are enjoying it. If you have to work, been there. I've worked a lot for some reason, I chose a profession where I have to usually work on Christmas, and my kids do not prefer. Although I will say I am grateful the Nuggets don't have a home Nuggets game this year. My kids were devastated last year when I left at 9 a.m. They were heartbroken last year. And so they're very excited that I don't have that problem. Don't Tell Santa Cruz says, I miss Justin Holiday. I was thinking about that last night about that's the solution here is don't play Russ and don't play MPJ. Just play Justin Holiday.
Man, I miss Justin too. He was consummate professional while he was here. He was a joy to talk to as well. And just somebody that I think they know they can go back to if they need to. So now whether that's something that they actually want to do, I don't know. But I will say this: if Justin Holiday isn't on a roster by, let's just say February 12th, Matt, I think that you'll probably hear something from him.
How are you gonna create the roster spot, man?
Figure it out. I think they will figure it out. I honestly, genuinely believe that.
Look, I'm a big fan of that answer because that's how I am with all the cap stuff.
Yeah.
There's a million things where people are like, they can't do this because of the cap. And I'm like, they'll figure it out. They always, if they want something to happen, they'll figure it out.
I see a 2-for-1 trade that they could do pretty easily right now, Matt. I don't know about you.
What's that?
MPJ and Zeke for Levine.
I see.
That's a joke, guys. It's probably not going to happen.
Scored 132 points tonight. Clearly, they need more offense.
Yep.
So, by the way, Julian Strother. Shout out Julian Strother tonight, by the way. He was 1 of 5 for 3, and he missed some threes in the fourth quarter. I get it. But he was plus 20, 13 points on 4 of 8 shooting for Julian. Not bad.
He got trucked on that 6-point play that the Nuggets got. Jamal Murray hits a 3. Julian Strother going for the offensive rebound, gets trucked by Javonte Green. Draws a free throw, and then Russell Westbrook creates a alley-oop opportunity for DeAndre Jordan. And that, honestly, it flipped the game. And at that point, I thought, you know what, they have a chance. And Julian was a part of that. And Malone shouted him out in the postgame. So good for him. And I did you saw the chart that I put out over this weekend on the 2-man net ratings and how he's got the red cross of death going through him with all of his matchups.
Yeah.
That was always going to be a thing. It is very stark because it's just the young wing that can't play defense that is hit or miss from 3 still. He's going to figure it out. The question is whether the Nuggets can survive it before he does.
By the way, I want to be intellectually honest here. Ian Johnson says 132 with overtime. Ian's right. The Nuggets gave up a 106.6 defensive rating in this game, which is actually stellar.
Good. Yeah,
this is a fast-paced game. So I will retract my earlier statement. Levine would have helped to give them maybe a bigger cushion in this game. They're gonna play the Suns tomorrow. Ryan and I have argued since preseason about the Suns, and his argument was I don't trust the defense, and I was like, no, they're buying in on Budenholzer. Unfortunately for me, that team has given up on life. They are in trouble. I've been listening to Locked On Suns with Brendan Clean, who I like a lot, and they're in the bad place. It is bad. Booker's out with a groin injury.
What's forcing them into that? Is because they were really great with Kevin Durant and are still pretty great with Kevin Durant. What has changed?
Turnovers has been a massive issue for them. Is that they cannot stop turning the ball over. So they're trying to like share the ball a little bit more, which I think is generally good for their offense.
Sure.
But overall, like they're just not able to contain defensively with a lot of these situations. And like with Booker on the floor, they're giving up a 117 defensive rating. With Beal on the floor, it's 118. They cannot get stops. It's funny because like Nurkic is 115. It's actually, I think it's less Nurk, and I think it's more of they don't have one thing that's become evident. They are missing the same kind of thing that they were missing last year and the year before. Ironically, since they got rid of Saric. If you don't have like a 5-out weapon and you face teams that can go to it, you get killed. Teams can't go to it versus Denver because Jokic will tear it apart so badly. You won't have any chance of keeping, like you'll lose the numbers on it. But the Suns aren't good enough to do it. And so like the Pacers, Miles Turner just ripped them to pieces with stretch 5. Now the Nuggets, so I would say you're probably going to see Yoke take some threes tomorrow night, and he's been shooting 50% from 3. So not a bad kind of angle there.
I like it. I think that one thing I'm going to be right. I've already written the article, but one thing I'll be mentioning is the 3-point disparity that these teams usually go through. Like what we talked about in the preseason was that this team was going to be jacking up a lot more threes. The Suns were, and the Nuggets have now lately been the team that is struggling to get up those threes as much as possible. The Suns get up a bunch more. And I think against the Nuggets, they know how important that is specifically. So they are either going to get a jumper that they feel is good, or a spot up 3, or like Yusuf Nurkic will roll down the middle of the rim, and we'll see whether he can actually do some stuff with that. But I'm curious to see what they bring. I'm curious to see what the Nuggets bring. They haven't been at altitude for a while, and they're coming off of an overtime win and playing the second night of a back-to-back at altitude. So I am expecting a lot of short shots tomorrow, Matt.
I think that they're going to be fine.
Okay. I mean, they are 4-0 on second night of a back-to-back so far this year. Like, Denver's been the weirdest team. They don't like additional rest. They are very resilient in the back-to-back situations where usually you see teams give those up. And it just doesn't feel like that's impacting them as much. So who knows? Maybe this will be the first time that they actually break that streak. But what do you think Joker does?
That's a good one. Gets Nurkic in foul trouble. That's what I think he does. I think he probably has. I think he probably has a good game. I think he's gotten. I think he is getting a little tired. But I think they're also trying to stay. The thing with Joker is, it's like, yeah, he's a little tired. That doesn't mean he's going to be tired forever. He'll eventually not be tired, and then he'll look good again.
The 37 minutes a game is probably impacting him. Like that is something. Like played 37.2 prior to this overtime game in which he played 43 minutes. So it's not something that Malone can really control because like they don't have a choice. I do think that if it were up to me, I would try to build in 8 minutes of DeAndre Jordan and 6 minutes of Aaron Gordon as the backup 5 every single game and try to get Jokic's number down to 34 minutes a night. I think that they could probably do that a little bit more realistically. And maybe that allows you to play Peyton Watson a little bit more, maybe get some of those smaller, like more switchy lineups that so many people love. But they need to keep like getting this Jokic number down because they're about to play a whole bunch of games in not a lot of time. And I am worried about him overall.
Don't tell Santa Cruz, guys. We lost to the Wizards in Portland. Crying, laughing face. Are you genuinely confident we win tomorrow?
We said they would win against Atlanta.
So I'll tell you this right now. The Nuggets over the next 5 games play the Suns and then the Suns again on Christmas in Phoenix. They play the Cavaliers at home. They play the Pistons and then the Utah Jazz. They're going to split with the Suns. They're going to split with the Cavs and the Pistons. They're going to beat the Jazz. They're going to go 3-2 over the stretch. Like,
I think they'll go 3-2. I don't know if they're going to win the Jazz game. I know that sounds insane to say, but they already won in Utah once, and I just don't think that they could do that. Like, I don't think that they can sweep the Jazz. I just don't think I don't think they're capable of it. We'll see whether they can focus up enough on it. But
Jazz are coming off of an East Coast road trip, bad spot for them. So here's the thing: the Nuggets have lost to the Wizards in Portland. You're absolutely right. They've lost to the Wizards, the Pelicans, and the Blazers. These are teams the Nuggets have beaten. The Oklahoma City Thunder, the Dallas Mavericks, the Memphis Grizzlies, the Los Angeles Lakers, the Golden State Warriors, the over 500 Atlanta Hawks, and the Los Angeles Clippers. They have 7 wins versus teams over 500. So that does not proof that they are a good team. It is proof that they are an inconsistent team. When they say we can beat anybody any night and we can lose to any team any night, that is accurate. They absolutely probably should have lost to this game tonight to the Pelicans before the injuries again got hit for the Pelicans. God, that team is cursed. But that doesn't mean if they beat Cleveland on Friday, I'm not going to blink an eye. I'm not going to be surprised in the slightest if they beat Cleveland. There will not be a register of surprise in me. And I will not be surprised if they beat Cleveland and then turn around and lose to the Pistons. That won't shock me either. That's who they are this year. That's who they got to get away from. They'd be in a better position if I knew, they're not good enough right now. They're probably going to they're going to lose to the Suns. The Suns are in a bad place too. So it's like they're going to split with the Suns, but they're going to lose to the Cavaliers for sure, but they'll beat the Pistons. I know that. You want to be able to know who you're going to beat. You don't know who they're going to beat night to night. You don't know who they're going to lose to night to night.
And that's obviously an issue when you're trying to evaluate what they need heading into a trade deadline, like how good they are, how far away they are, things like that. Like, if you don't know, then how can you make an accurate assessment? I think is fair. Like, I've been talking up the Zach LaVine aspect of these things, but you're right that, hey, maybe getting more offense is not a great idea. Maybe downsizing is not a great idea. I can understand that. And I think Calvin Booth probably is going through that as well. So there's a lot of questions about just, like, is this team great? Is this team good? Is this team, like, are they inconsistent or are they bad? Like, I don't really know. Like, they could be all of those things.
Danny says, when you have 13 one-possession games, you can argue they should have, quote, won or lost a lot of games. Amen. And that's why I use the numbers that I do. That's why I care about the net rating that my good friend who was on altitude tonight, by the way, congrats to Adam Morris.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for never having me on, guys. But like net rating, they're plus 3.1 schedule adjusted. That's 9th best in the league. I'm not telling you that to try and convince you that they're good. I see, like, I'm watching the games too. I'm like, God, these guys, Jesus. But the end results are that they're 15-11 with a plus 3.1 net rating against a 15th ranked strength of schedule. So, like, it doesn't really matter how you feel about it. If you take a step back, you can't argue that they're in crisis. You just can't.
Yeah.
You can't do it. I mean, can look at the Kings, who quite honestly should be better than they are because they have a plus net rating and they're 13-17. And I would ask you who you'd rather be right now.
Of course, you'd like to figure out how to be better on the fly while you're winning games like the Nuggets are. And they are doing that. They know that they need to be better. I think Malone has been preaching that this entire time. The question is whether they are going to be willing and able to cross that threshold when they need to. And I don't know if they are, but I also am not willing to completely write them off, which is very unfortunate because I'd like to write them off and I'd like to be able to say, this isn't working, change it. But Jamal Murray is now playing some pretty good basketball. Nikola Jokic is still the best player in the world. Aaron Gordon is still a great fit in between them. Christian Brown is still, like, doing stuff. Russell Westbrook has been really solid for this team. Michael Porter starting to show some weaknesses, but he was one of their most consistent players for much of the season. So I'm still, just when they thought they were going to kick you out, they reel you back in. Reel you back in, Matt.
Philly Urbanite says, Matt is never too high, never too low guy.
Yes, sir.
It's been beaten into me, man. It's been, there's a reason why, like, that's what the NBA players as they get older say. Like, that's the lesson that they learned. is because otherwise it's just too hard on you. These swings, I feel for y'all because you guys are living and dying after everything.
I knew
It's
it would be like this. I just you knew it would be like this. I knew it would be like this. That it was always going to be a very difficult season for Ryan Blackburn, especially. But you know what? I'm rising to the challenge, Matt. We're here. We are greats. We're doing it. We're doing it for the
what a hero.
Not
the hero Gotham needs, but the hero it deserves.
Win it for the Gipper, Matt. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about this is the thing why in preseason I had 5 different shows, I think, where I said you need to prepare yourself because this is going to be a really hard season.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're not done. You can still win a title. But I was like, this is going to be hard. And it was because of stuff like this. It's because when you don't have the roster, the chemistry, the vibe, the personnel, you don't have the margin for error that creates consistency. The Nuggets don't have a high floor.
Yeah.
And they don't have a high ceiling. Now, their floor is higher than most teams, and their ceiling is higher than most teams, but it's lower than most of the contenders. And that's why you feel the way you do. It also, again, I'll just keep saying this, that doesn't mean that this is how it's going to be when we get to April 1st.
Yeah.
We'll see where they go from here.
Plenty of time to figure it out. I hope that the Nuggets, I hope Nuggets fans understand and appreciate that the season, again, it is still long. You want to see some stuff be figured out over the course of these next few weeks, though. It is go time for let's figure some stuff out.
That'll do it for Locked On Nuggets. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's see. We'll be back at some point. I got to talk to Swipe about our holiday schedule. And we'll see. We'll have a show after the Christmas game. Come hell or high water. It'll probably be me solo, but we'll do a show. Ryan says he's around.
Are we doing a show tomorrow night?
We'll see.
We will see. Okay.
We'll see.
Well, you guys love us no matter what. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for always being a part of this. And make sure to go subscribe to the newsletter, folks. Would really appreciate that.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys again next time. Happy holidays from Locked On Nuggets.